Hey everyone, welcome back to our next project and our next week of art making. My name is Vessna Scheff. You can refer to me using she and her pronouns, and I'm really excited to get started with what we're going to do today. So last week we worked on drawing from observation, which was drawing things that we see and how we see them that are in the world around us. This week we're going to work on abstract drawings. Abstraction usually refers to a feeling that you are experiencing and expressing that feeling without using forms. So without using something that you would see around you. It's more abstract. That's what the term is used to describe that way of drawing. So I've just been looking at this book that I have. It's a really humongous book. And there are a few artists in here who I really like and I wanted to share with you before we get started. There is this artist named Norman Lewis, and he is considered one of the first abstract artists. So you can see here, there's a painting with a lot of dark space around the edges, mostly black, and then inside there's some marks, but it's hard to tell what exactly those marks are meant to depict. It could be a feeling, or it could be, whatever you sort of see in it. There's a lot of different things it could be. Here is another painting that he did. So in this one, there's a lot of different textures. You see all the scratchy sort of marks? To me, that makes it feel kind of like a soft feeling. Like there's something kind of like soft, but also sporadic about this piece. And it looks like there could be some sort of figures represented in there, but it also could be just expression of a feeling. I think there are a couple more pieces here. Yeah, so this one is really interesting. This is pen on the bottom, ink marks, this detailed drawing, and then on top is a pastel wash, I think. So used pastel and kind of smeared it a little bit to create a really washy effect, and then used pen on the bottom to create a very detailed line effect. Then we have this emerald green piece. Just the combination of colors in this I think are really beautiful. And the shapes sort of blend together, kind of like you're remembering something that you can't quite remember exactly, but there's a feeling associated with that memory. And the last piece of his that I wanted to share is this bright one. All these colors dancing with each other on the page, and all these shapes on the bottom. I'm curious what you think these might be. If you are watching this with someone, maybe turn to each other and talk about what it is that you think Norman Lewis could be describing or representing in this piece. That's my dog June. She's also interested in talking about this piece with you. So hopefully you've had a chance to think for yourself what you might be seeing or what you think Norman Lewis might be expressing in this piece. Looks a little bit like a party to me. People outside and celebrating. So I just wanted to share what I was taking a look at before we got started. And I have another artist that I'm going to share with you later. But we're going to get started with doing some movement to get us ready for our drawing and painting, or drawing and markering using color of some kind. Okay, go ahead and stand up. Find your space and stretch it out a little bit. You can shake, just loosen up. Okay, so since we're talking about emotional paintings, I was thinking we could do some emotional movements. So with this next movement, I would like for you to move as though it's a really hot day, really hot. Just like in the summer and you're sweating It's like you just took a shower, but it feels like you have to take a shower all over again because it's just so hot. So you're gonna move as though you're walking through a really hot day. You can just feel all the heat on you, just so hot. I feel like I'm getting thirsty just doing this. Okay, so now it gets really cold. Ooh, freezing. And now you're trying to move and it's really, really cold. So you're maybe shivering, trying to warm yourself up like this. Your movements are maybe a lot faster than you were when it was really hot. And finally, it's a really nice, relaxing temperature. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's just really comfortable to be in. So it's just really casual, just relaxed. So now if you were to get really excited, like say you just got a gift from someone and you weren't expecting to get a gift from this person and they brought you something, it was so amazing and you were so excited. You're maybe jumping up and down, you were really excited to get this gift. You maybe gave them a big hug to say thank you, or, you know, however you show your appreciation, or you ran to go tell someone, so you're running really fast to go say, hey, I just got this amazing gift. And then you come back and you decide to make some art. And that's what we are going to do now. So go ahead and clear off your drawing space and grab a piece of paper to get started. So I have here my drawing space and a piece of paper to get started. So on this piece of paper, actually before we get to doing things on the paper, we're going to fold it similar to how we folded it in last week's class. So we're going to fold the top, or fold the bottom up to the top, and line it up. And then we're going to crease that fold so it's nice and sharp. We're going to fold the bottom to the top again. Line it up as best as we can, and then we're going to crease it. So we have a nice crisp, nice crisp fold. And then we're going to take this and fold it in half this way. So we should end up with a small rectangle out of that page. Make sure you crease your edges. Now we're going to unfold it all the way. So we have 8 sections. You can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So your paper should look like this. We're going to put this down on our drawing board. So it might be flat for you, but because I want to share with you what I'm doing, I'm putting mine on a vertical clipboard surface. For this part of the project, I'm going to use a pencil, but you can use a marker or a pen or a pencil or a colored pencil or a crayon, whatever you have. It doesn't matter which medium you want to use, whatever you feel like using for today. So we are going to walk ourselves through how we would draw a few different emotions. So in this first one, I would like you to draw a line or draw a bunch of lines that express calmness. Calm. So I'm going to draw a bunch of lines that show calmness. I'm going to come sit down over here, turn my board so that you can see what I'm doing, but I don't want you to copy what I'm doing. I would like for you to see what you think of when you think of the word calm. What kind of lines would you draw if you were going to draw some lines that were calming for you? All right, we're going to spend a couple of seconds doing this. So on your mark, get set, and draw. Okay. Go ahead and lift your pencils. So your representation of calm might look different than mine, but this is what I ended up drawing. Kind of reminds me of a landscape, which can be pretty calming to look at, and just some vast open spaces. All right, box number 2. I'd like you to draw a line that shows excitement. So like we talked about earlier, when you're super excited, what does that look like if you are drawing it in this box? On your mark, get set, and draw. Okay, go ahead and lift up your pencils. So curious to see what everyone drew. If you have someone that you're doing this with, go ahead and share what it is that you drew for excited. This is what I drew. Bunch of fast, quick lines and a burst of energy and then some more fast, quick lines. To me, that's what excited feels like in a drawing. Yours might look totally different, and I think that's really beautiful because we all bring a different perspective to the art that we make. The next one is curious. What does a curious line look like? If you're not sure what curious means, I would describe it as being really interested in something. Like you are wondering about this thing, you're trying to figure out maybe how it works or just learn more about it. You're really curious. So, what does your curious line look like? Let's see. On your mark, get set, and draw. All right, go ahead and wrap up your curious drawing. I really like this one that I did. If you're with someone else, go ahead and share the drawings that you did together. The one that I did has a lot of wandering lines. So when I think of curious, I think of wandering through kind of how I think about something. Like I'm on an adventure learning about it. And that to me is kind of like what curiosity feels like. Okay, box number 4. In this one, we're going to draw loneliness. So what would a lonely line look like? When you're done, you can go ahead and share with someone what your lonely line looks like. I feel like when I think of loneliness, I think of when I was younger, and I have a sister, but she didn't live with us at the time, so I didn't have anyone to play with at home, and sometimes I would get pretty lonely and would want someone to play with, but I ended up being able to do a lot of art and found that that was a really nice way to not feel lonely, even though I was alone, which I think is a really beautiful thing to be able to do with art. So in my drawing I did, it's a little hard to see here. Okay, I did a line that sort of went like this and then came up again towards the end. And that to me shows that at first I thought it wasn't that I shouldn't be lonely or that I needed to do something differently because I was lonely, and then just found that I can actually have a pretty good time when it's just me. Okay, box number 5. In this box, I would like you to draw something that shows anger. If you're really upset about something, what does that line look like? Okay, on your mark, get set, and draw. All right. Mine ended up having a bunch of really dark lines, I think because when I get angry, my muscles can get really tight, and so I was pushing really hard on my paper to show how that might translate into a mark on the page. And I have all my lines too sort of balled up in one area. I think when I get angry sometimes I tighten myself and I don't always say what I'm feeling. I can hold it in sometimes. So I think that might be also why I kept the marks kind of in one area. And so yours might look like this, or it might look totally different. And you might describe your marks in a totally different way. But feel free to share with someone nearby, or you can just reflect on it yourself. If you're like me and you're doing this and there's no one else around, you can just reflect to yourself and think what it made you think of when you were expressing this one. Okay, box number 6. Here we're going to draw overwhelmed. So if you aren't familiar with the word overwhelmed, it can mean when there's just too much happening at one time. You are overwhelmed. There's too many things going on. It feels like everything's happening all at once, and it's really hard to process what is going on. So that's what overwhelmed can be. So go ahead and spend a couple seconds drawing a line or marks that represent feeling overwhelmed. Okay. Curious to see what yours ended up looking like. Overwhelmed to me can feel like there's something on every side, sort of everywhere I look, there's something that's happening that makes it really hard to process what's going on. So to me, it kind of feels like I'm in the middle and there's a bunch of stuff happening around me. And it's not all necessarily like intense stuff like these marks here. Some of it can be really peaceful. Others can be kind of curious. This kind of looks like my curious lines. And some stuff can be kind of excited. So this is how I chose to resemble overwhelmed. Yours might look different, might look similar. All right, in this second to last box, we are going to draw a line that is peaceful. And if you aren't sure exactly what peaceful means, you can think of it maybe as when you feel really just comfortable and relaxed. Or like if you take a big breath and let it out, sometimes that can bring me a feeling of peacefulness, where you kind of accept things that you that are maybe happening that have been hard to accept, or you find some kind of clarity in that. So go ahead and draw how you would express peaceful in a line. Okay. My peaceful ended up looking a lot pretty similar to my calm lines. I feel like those feelings might feel, they sort of go together. All right, and in our last box, we're going to draw what joyful feels like. Kind of like what we talked about in our movements before. When you feel just really happy and filled with joy, what's that like? You can try and think of a moment in which you did, and then start doing your marks. All right. So my depiction of joyful, I think I can feel very whole. I feel like all of me is taken care of or considered when I feel joyful. And so I drew these circles that kind of show the wholeness that I experience when I feel joyful. So we have our collection of drawings here, and you can do this again on your own if you want, and come up with your own emotions that you want to express with different lines. You could also make this for someone else. So you could fold up the paper and write the different emotions inside each box, and then share that with someone who you would like to see what their drawings might look like for these emotions. Another thing you can do is on a separate piece of paper, you can do a drawing that shows how all these different emotions can happen sort of at one time, or they might combine and mix. Because we don't always feel only anger, or only loneliness, or only calmness, or only excitement. We often feel a combination of these things all at once. Sometimes that can be overwhelming, like we showed here, but sometimes that's just also how it is. We feel a lot of different things at once. So those are some ideas for what you can do before I see you again next. And thanks so much for expressing yourself and drawing with me today. I'll see you soon.